welcome to the Summer Prosperity class, our Summer to Prosper Center for Spiritual Living Asheville 2019. And we always start with the question, are you ready?
Yes.
Are you ready to have what you want to have?
Yes.
Are you ready to buy what you want to buy?
Yes.
Are you ready to go where you want to go?
Yes.
Are you ready to do what you want to do?
Yes.
Are you ready to be who you have come here to be?
Yes.
And we're going to do our treatment for increased income together aloud. I, Barbara, know that God is the source of all supply, and that money is God in action. I know that my good is here now. I am so rich and so full that I have an abundance of money to spare and to share today and always. I know that true prosperity includes perfect health, perfect wealth, and perfect happiness. This word, which I speak in faith knowing, now activates universal law, and I accept the results. I bless all that I have now, and I bless the increase. I bless all the others in the increased income program of our class, and I know that we now prosper together in every way. I give thanks for this good, and so it is. Again, I, Barbara, know that God is the source of all supply, and that money is God in action. I know that my good is here now. I am so rich and so full that I have an abundance of money to spare and to share today and always. I know that true prosperity includes perfect health, perfect wealth, and perfect happiness. This word, which I speak in faith knowing, now activates universal law, and I accept the results. I bless all that I have now, and I bless the increase. I bless all the others in the increased income program of our class, and I know that we now prosper together in every way. I give thanks for this good, and so it is. Woohoo! Okay, everybody, here's the drill. Those of you with increased income who want to share your story and your tithe, line up, come up here, put your check in the basket, and come up here and share. Here comes Shirley.
Cash also accepted.
Yes, cash, checks, deeds of trust. Sandra's up. Go ahead, just go on up.
I got a check from AT&T for $5.93, and I found $1.25 in the dryer.
Yay, Shirley.
I had lunch with a group of ladies on Friday, and Terry offered to buy my lunch. I made my breakfast, and I said, thank you very much. I'm grateful.
Woohoo!
My partner and I have a client that paid us $500 extra than what we were expecting.
Yay, Lauren! Woohoo! Go ahead.
Well done.
I got interest on my bank account.
Yay, Linda!
Well, I don't understand how Spirit and Prosperity works with health insurance, but it does, and the treatment does work. That I got a refund from Blue Cross Blue Shield for insurance, so I'm tithing on that. And then I got a letter today from Medicare saying that I might owe $16.36, but on the next page it said the maximum I might owe is $0, so I'm tithing on those $2 on top of the other two.
Yay, RJ!
Plus, I have perfect happiness, so that's part of prosperity too.
Yay, yay. And Vivian drove all the way across the country to be in class with us.
Hello. My name is Vivian, and I've been participating in the class with you guys all the weeks online. And so I've just been keeping track of my increased income. And from 11 points of receiving, I have received $2,473.58.
Yay, Vivian! Woohoo!
So I mailed out, I emailed out an invoice for Steve's website services, and the client paid the bill today. $245, and I got a call to help someone with their branding and write their bio for their website.
Yay, Rhonda and Steve.
Big Dave.
I got another $50 bonus last week, and here's my $5. And also, I wanted to mention, I got my vacation lined up for September with Grand Resort Travel, and I get super killer deals on condos. So I got a condo in Ormond in September, a couple bedrooms, real nice, for like 70% off. So that's nice. And then they're also working on my Costa Rica vacation. I'm going in January. So I'm
Yay.
excited.
Hey, David. Woo-hoo.
My sister left me some DVDs, and I sold $144 worth of them on eBay.
Yay.
And then Starbucks very kindly said, you can have a free coffee. So I had that $8 coffee, and then I went to another coffee house, and then I was just kidding around with them, and there's an energy that came, and they were so pleased with me as a human being, they gave me a coffee.
Yay, Thomas.
Thomas, take me to Starbucks.
I was shopping in Engels while my wife was away, and they asked me if I had an Engels card or whatever that is. And I said no. So the person down the line says, well, here, use this. And that saved $1.43. The other more interesting story is I was looking for some specific bolts. They were 6mm carriage bolts, and I looked all over the place and could not find them. They were a little bit of an odd size, so I went to a place called Asheville Nut and Bolt. And the last time I was in there, there was no problem. I went in this time, they had a $10 minimum, and there were only a few dollars. So I told the guy, I said, well, I've looked everywhere. I guess I don't have any choice. So he sold them to me for $5.
Yay, David Mark.
Well, I don't have cash in hand yet, but I have so much potential coming up. I went to a stained glass class this last week, brought back my pieces, and I've already sold one and gotten several people that are interested in placing orders for some more. So,
Yay, Pigatha. Come on, David Mark, you can have an addendum.
I just forgot to say the most important thing really is the tendency.
Yes, it is. The tendency of the money to keep coming. Yes.
He's a high thinker. You gotta ponder it for a while. I got another royalty check. Yay.
Yay, John. Who else? Okay. Adam, are you coming up? No. Okay. So this is from one of our online people. Expected income, $4, $53, unexpected income. A few months ago, I rented a room in a home I haven't been too comfortable in. Since the beginning of class, I have remembered who I am and that I'm responsible for my experience, and everyone in my experiences are a reflection of me. So I've been blessing everyone and doing my treatment as I have returned to knowing who I am. Yesterday, I woke up to a 3-day notice to move. The first words I found myself thinking and saying is, God is the source of my supply, my good is here now. And at the end of it, I said out loud, there's a pony in here somewhere. With absolute enthusiasm, so excited to have movement in my life again. I was asked to house sit this weekend, which works out perfect, and unexpectedly was paid $20 a day to care for the dogs in advance. So, something wonderful is happening for sure, tithe enclosed. And I love this, that when you say you're not going to put up with things that are less than what you deserve, then the universe brings it on and Just because it didn't look like you think it might have looked, don't be dismayed. Something good is happening. There's a pony in here somewhere, and it's already worked out. This is from one of our Australia viewers, and she says, New South Wales police fished thousands of dollars in $50 notes out of local creek. Hi, Barbara. I've been doing my prosperity treatment every day like you said. Today the above happened. It's not that far from where I live. I must be more powerful than I thought. Thought you'd like it. Love, Shirley. This idea that money can show up anywhere at any time is so important. We are not limited to having money come from our jobs, from our normal sources of income. Money can fall out of the sky. Money can show up in the creek outside. Money can blow down the road. I mean, we've had all of these things happen. So open your eyes, look around, and when you see it, the correct phrase is thank you. Thank you. If somebody offers to pay for a meal, you say, thank you. If someone gives you something, you say, thank you. That doesn't mean you have to keep it, but you say thank you. You accept your good. You say yes to life. And as you say yes to life and open up your mind and do your treatments for prosperity, money shows up. Yay. So I'm going to turn it over to John.
Okay. Yay. Thank you, Barbara. So, I just want to say something to the folks that are watching on their computers, wherever they might do that. We are quite aware that we've had some sound issues with our recordings. We believe we have them rectified, so stick with us. And also, if you're watching the video on YouTube, you can also go to our website, which is CSL Asheville, ASHEVILLE.org, and go to our classes, and you can see downloads for the PowerPoint presentation that I'm using tonight and for all the classes and the homework assignments. So you can get that information right there and join right in with us. So, hello everybody. You like my graphic? Oh, yeah. I saw that pop. Said, that's the one. Okay. Whatever it takes. Did you count them? Yeah. I don't know why that seems anal, but I'm good. I'm good. Okay, so we had a homework assignment last week that you took home with you. Who wants to share any insights they got from that? Anyone have a thought? Yes, Breezy. We got to get you the mic. You all right doing this? My runner.
Well, I realized that I don't have anything specific in mind. And I did not realize that till we were doing this. Like, I really don't have any particular things set. So to work on that bit for the questions.
I know what you're saying.
Okay.
And you have so many talents and so many gifts, and maybe that's okay, but
I just get bored doing one thing all the time, so I've always avoided pigeonholing.
Whatever works for you.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you how to live your life. I'm just asking you questions. Who else has a thought? Jen.
Something that spoke to me was the question, when was the last time you complained about your life? And first I thought, I don't really do that.
Do you?
But then I realized there's certain times, maybe throughout the week, that there's this thought that starts of, I don't know how to describe it, but it's that kind of borderline complaining thing. But the thing is, right away I catch it and turn it around.
That's
so
lovely.
That's been
Very
great.
Good.
And the other thing is, which describes you best, not losing at life or winning at life? And I realized I definitely not losing at life, but I didn't like the word winning because it sounds competitive. So for me, it's all about joy and giving and gratitude. So
and that's fine. That's fine. And it depends on how you want to see the word
that's
winning.
Right. Yeah.
When you're successful in winning could be the same
Yeah.
thing, you know,
But
it doesn't
thank-
require
I,
any
I love
competition.
the questions.
Good,
Thanks.
thank you. Any other thoughts? Yes, Susan.
Two things. The first one, what am I willing to do to have a healthy, happy, and prosperous life? And that's spend my money freely, more freely.
Good for you.
I came from a place, be careful, hold on to it. You never know what tomorrow will bring. So just enjoy it and have fun. And another part was, which describes me best, not losing at life or winning at life. And winning and why, my answer was, I've come a long way, baby.
There, I like that. Very good. That's great. Thank you. Begatha.
I wasn't here last week for the class, but I picked it up today and started answering the questions. And I was just so excited because I could answer them in such joyful and happy and confident ways.
Yay.
And it says, what are you willing to do to have a happy, healthy, and prosperous life? And I said, focus, focus, focus on being an intimate being, the creator in my life.
There you go.
And I find that every time those little doubts start to come up, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I'm the creator. Nope, not creating that. I'm creating this over here. And so I just feel like my life is expanding exponentially, and
Good for
I'm
you.
really happy.
Thank you, Begatha. Give her a hand. That's excellent. Gwen.
I found it interesting to think about where is money not very important. I'm sorry, very important in your life, and I found it in the future. And that was a big fear.
Isn't that interesting? Good for you to catch that. Have you thought about how you would turn that around? No. Okay, well, that's what you're working on. That's a good one to work on, Gwen. Good for you. What a great insight. Yeah, I got it. Anybody else want to share? Great. So let's move on to tonight. Thank you for your comments. And here we go. I've got a bunch of prosperity principles for you tonight. Well, they're good. They're good. They're helpful. No uh-ohs. Everyone is paid in direct proportion to the value they deliver according to the marketplace. What a big bunch of words. Let's talk about it. Obviously, because I've italicized it, value is the biggest operative word in this sentence. Value. What value do you bring? What is that about? Well, it can be a lot of things. It can be specific skills or talents. It could be a passion you have for something. It could be, and it isn't that you necessarily have to move into a marketplace with it, but that's where the exchange happens. If you have a thought that you want to create a greater sense of inflow to your life, obviously you're going to deal with somebody, and they're going to be your marketplace. So it isn't like there's one marketplace. Everybody has their own marketplace, their own possible place where they can sell either their services of time and expertise or products. I know some of you are into products. You make things. You make photography. You do all kinds of things like that. So what's your marketplace? And this is a statement that takes us to an understanding that everything is according to what value we bring to that marketplace. And there are actually 4 factors that influence success in any marketplace. And they're pretty logical. This isn't going to be a great surprise. The first one is supply. And I have a question for you to ponder around that. And that is, this is supply. How many other sources do people have for your product or service? And I don't want to say that it's competition, but are there lots of places to get what you're giving, or do you have something that's so completely exclusive that you're creating a new marketplace? You know, and I think an element of this, Judith immediately pops up. Because there's lots of photographers. There's lots of people that are promoting their photography. But if you find what's called, what is the word? Niche is the word I'm looking for. Thank you. If you find your niche, your little piece of the pie, when you're looking at a universal market, a global market, It doesn't really matter if you found your little area where you do something so extraordinarily well that people notice, and that in the right place at the right time, it has extraordinary value, even though it's in a market where you could say, well, there's tens of thousands of people that do that. No, not if you have your little niche. Very good. So supply has its elements too. Okay? So that's supply. The next one would be demand. Hello. Is the product or service you're providing something people want? And to apply value to that, are they looking for it? Who are they that are looking for this special product or service that you're providing? And what makes them want this thing that you've got? It's so important to understand that, so that whatever you're doing, whatever you're bringing to this marketplace, that you've defined the criteria. One of them is supply. Next one is demand, to understand the demand for your product or service. The third one is quality. How many lives are you altering with those that you serve? You know, that brings me to mind. How many lives are you serving? Are you altering? Are you giving value to? And you know, it's been so incredible to see this community grow and prosper. And you and the other members and friends of this center that call this their spiritual home have for 25 years been the rock that supports this community through your generosity and your time and your energy and all the things that you do. And now we've got this new thing happening. People all over the world are watching what we have to bring to the marketplace. And we're not doing anything more than we're doing with you in this idea of creating support. But we're doing it online as well. We've created ways to ask people to support this ministry. And you know what? It's happening. It's growing. Our first intention was to make sure that for all the energy that Devon Embler puts into this, giving us a great website with a great product that we put on, and for the things that we're teaching, which is our service to the world, that there would be an ask. So she's been doing that. And we thought what we wanted to do was cover what we were paying her. To make, you know, that was all we were setting as a standard to begin this. And just inside of, 6 months that she's actually been focused on this as a member of our staff, we have doubled that. And it's continuing to grow. So obviously that exchange is happening, and that's supporting this center as well, which we know, no idea that would be possible. And yet it's growing. And yet you'd think I would know that, having worked at the Crystal Cathedral and understanding that they did not rely on the people that were in the cathedral to support the place. They relied on the television show. Now, I'm not trying to compete or compare us to the Hour of Power that Robert Schuller did for all those years. But there is that idea that we are reaching out into the world, much like he did in his time, and that it's showing a response. That's fascinating and powerful to me. And that tells me that we're empowering people out there to create their lives in a more meaningful way, far beyond these walls. Now, I know, and not to take anything away from that, but it's so much nicer to be in the room. You know, the energy of it, the connection, the friendships, and all that we do here is phenomenal. And I would take nothing less than that in my experience. But all those people around the world can't do that. You know, they don't have that opportunity. There's nothing going on that's teaching this stuff that they know of where they live, most likely. And yet they get online and they find us. And then they contact us and they tell us how it's changing their lives. I had Barbara actually passed along to me an email from someone that was taking the class but was struggling with it. And I took great pleasure in writing her. And what I did was I took her email and I rewrote it back to her, pointing out all the opportunities to be excited about what your life's happening rather than being afraid that there's not enough. And she wrote me back joyously and said, "This is it. You know, I get it." And, you know, that touches my heart, that we get to do that. So while you're doing these things around supply and demand and such, yeah, good to know. But that heart connection comes into the quality of what we're doing and the quantity, because that's the logical thing with all these people around the planet finding us as we reach out, is making an incredible difference in lives. And I'm so grateful. And so it has so much meaning for me that we do that. So what's going on in your life and how are you doing that? And the question here isn't, don't find something wrong here. There's nothing wrong. It's just defining what you're doing. And the more you understand what you're bringing to the marketplace, the better you can bring it. You know? And it doesn't matter what it is your business is, what your expertise is, what your interest is. But whatever you're bringing, know about it, understand it, and then you'll be able to use it, and it'll have greater value to you. So that's the point of this exercise. All right. Any questions about that? Yes, RJ. Barbara's got to come.
Kind of looking at this, what about marketing or advertising to get the word out that you have this product?
We're getting there.
Another, okay.
Yeah,
Never mind.
Just got well, that's good. I like when people get a little ahead of me. That works. And I wish it was the next principle, but then I'd have a segue, but I don't. All right. All right, here we go. Prosperity Principle 16. Prosperous people focus on opportunities. Everybody else focused on obstacles. Should say focuses, but it doesn't matter. The point is made. So most people in the world see what's not working and put their whole focus on that. And I know this for a fact because having done counseling and treatment work for so many people over the time that I've been doing this work, I know how people, they don't come in to tell me about all the opportunities. Occasionally it happens. It does happen. But most of the time it's about something that they are freaked out about that's really not working in their life, and that's their focus. Now, this is how I see this work, is that you can focus on opportunities and train yourself to do that. I think a little bit about what Jen was talking about is exactly that. Focus on what's working. Focus on getting it better. That doesn't mean there's not stuff to work out, but from that place of opportunities, those things become less important. In fact, the whole thing that Ernest Holmes taught about turning away from the condition is the idea that if there's something that is not in alignment with where you're going that you're aware of, the best way to get rid of it is to starve it. Now that doesn't mean you don't pay the bill. If you have a concern about paying the bill, you still pay the bill. But you spend your time knowing that you have the money and the resources to do that and so much more. And you focus from that place so you don't give this thing that would be the problem all this control of you. You just don't do it. Just like Jen was saying, it starts, and that's not exactly what you were talking about, but it's the same principle. When it starts, turn it around and turn it into an opportunity. Much like we talked about yesterday, finding God in everything no matter what. You find it, you see what's working, and that's your focus. And you take care of your obstacles, but by the time you get to them, there's not much to them because you've starved them. Okay? So what else did I want to say about that? Prosperous people see possibilities, potential growth, rewards, desired outcomes. Most everybody else tend to see their problems, their issues, their concerns, their fears, and their potential losses. Which way you want to go? Everybody's got those things going on. It's where's your focus? What are you making work? Let's see. Prosperous people form habits around their success so that their mindset, just as Jen demonstrated in what she said, is that we all have things come up that would distract us, but then we correct. Life is a series of corrections. Constantly correcting, and it's simply in your mind. It's simply refocusing on what you want and what you're calling into your life and what you're going to do about it. I don't want you to think this is all just a mental exercise. It must be followed up with action. But the action, following the clarity of mind makes the action work. Because if you step into an action like I did this past weekend with my little 2-minute video, you know, if I stress on it, if I make it a problem, if I see it as this big thing, it's a big thing, you know. And if you work your way away from that, it gets easier. And I got to tell you that I got an email this afternoon from Devon Embler, and she really liked my 2-minute video. She said, this is very doable. She had one issue, that I have a little altar in my office, and it has a red cloth over an abalone shell. She said, get rid of the red cloth. If that's the biggest issue she had, I won. You know, so you just go back and focus and focus and focus and focus, and don't let it beat you. Don't let that problem beat you. Okay, we're going to talk more about that, so I don't want to get too much into that. Let's see what else I want to say. Let's see. Habits. Yeah, habits. We all develop these, and they become unconscious. That's what habits are. We just do them. And I watched a show on TV last night. I was clicking around. I was overwhelmed with the news. You know, they were not talking about anything except mass murders. So I'm just kind of, what do they call it? Channel surfing. I found a show called Extreme Weight Loss. I never saw this before. And so the story was about 2 people that as soon as they got married, they started they changed all their eating habits to where they would just eat an enormous amount of foods. And they both ballooned up to these really big people, not old. They've got twins that are, I don't know, 5. And like they're too big to enjoy their twins. And so the wife called in, set it up, and the host of the show calls them and says, okay, we're going to let you in, but today, before you get on the plane and come to LA, you got to lose 2 pounds. And they said, okay, and off they go to the gym with some kind of meters that tell them when they have achieved the loss of 2 pounds. I don't know what that is, but they had something that told them. And the struggle to lose 2 pounds. And then, of course, once they'd lost the 2 pounds, they did it, and barely. They both got over the line. They went to LA, and they went through this thing, and it was amazing, especially watching the husband struggle with this. And they've got this coach, this guy's with him, and he's going down the beach having to run, and he's really big, and he's strapped onto this thing that's holding weight on it, and he's going through the sand, and he's really struggling. He's like, I can't do this, and the guy's like in his face, what do you mean you can't do it? Why did I bring you out of here if you're not going to do it? Going, really getting on him about that. And you could see the guy's struggle. What he was struggling with was he was being asked to immediately change his habits that he had had for years. And there was no space to not do it. After the 2 pounds and they went to LA, the next thing they were charged with was 90 days to lose, between the 2 of them, 150 pounds. They were big, though. But the deal was, it didn't have to be 75-75. One could lose 50 and the other 100. However, they did it. And amazingly, even watching them struggle to change what was going on, you could see that the wife was much more committed to it. Because she's the one that signed them up. She's the one that saw that she couldn't even play with her kids and how it would work. And she just got into it. And she got on the scale at the end of that, and by God, she lost 75 pounds. It was amazing to see that woman had done that. And then he got on the scale, and he lost 80. I know, which gave him a different sense of it. He got a win. So, and not that he was in competition with his wife, but they felt like they both had their part to do. And, the story went on and on and on. And as it ended, to watch these 2 people and how different they looked. They had lost between them close to 300 pounds. And they both looked fit. I have no idea what all that we did with all that skin, but it didn't show in their clothes. They actually looked wonderful. And I thought, they did it for a year. It was a year program. People that could change that dramatically in 1 year. What can we do? What can we do if we set our mind to it? Because that was crazy. That was nuts that they had to eat right. They had to eat this way and do all this exercise. And they set up a gym in their house. They didn't. The show set up a gym in their house with cameras. So he could check in on. And it's not that they won everything along the way. Not that they met all of their goals along there. They didn't. They fell short. But by the end, they had made it work, and it was just astonishing to see. I'm going to look at that show more. Because watching them, you know I cry at grocery store openings. But this was just touched me that people were willing to do that, and that it would change their lives because it wasn't working, and they made it work. So that for me is really about this idea of focusing on your opportunities, because these obstacles will eat you up if you let them. They will eat you up. Don't do it. Don't do it. All right. I've got that one down. Prosperous people, this is 17. Prosperous people admire success in others. Many less prosperous people tend to resent the success of others. I have an example. My mother, she had a real issue with rich people. And it was always under her breath. She didn't like confront anybody, but she'd just talk about those people with all that money. And we had some people that we were connected to when I was young that had some money. And she had an issue with that. And she didn't, my dad didn't bring home a lot of money, and she was a stay-at-home mom, and she had issues around that. And I think it plagued her whole life. She, after my dad died, she did remarry, and he had money, so he helped her change some of that. And having a little money really, settled her down. And I don't think those things happened much after that, but it was a struggle for her. It's because the idea isn't that you're, it is judgment. It absolutely is, but it's not about being a good person. It's about the idea that if you're holding something against people, if you resent what they have, then you can't have what they have. And it says many less prosperous people. I'm sure there are some people that are not very prosperous that admire others that have been prosperous in their life. I don't think it's an absolute rule, but I think the tendency is toward distancing yourself from people who have succeeded in life and have a lot to show for it. So the idea is admire people. Any questions on this? Okay. All right. Let's see where we're going here. Prosperous people tend to associate with other prosperous people. It's a little next step on this. Everyone else tends to associate with people who they see as equal or less successful than themselves. An important word here is see. That they see them as. Because some people, you don't know what they have. They're modest. They don't talk about what they have. They're not boastful. So you can be around people that are extremely wealthy that don't show it. In fact, you can do that in this community. So there are many people that don't have all the trappings of wealth, but it's the question in this that we want to ask. Who are in your circle of friends? Who are they? And is it working to be around them? And I'm not saying give up, especially if you're engaged in this community. My guess is that your circle of friends is a pretty healthy group. But if you're out in the world and you're associating with other people, are they enlivening you by your relationship? Are they giving to you? That's not what I'm saying. At least not in any kind of a financial or substantive way. But do they bring value to your life? Are you surrounding yourself with people that you can gain value from? And perhaps that they can gain value from you. But is there a symbiotic thing going on? Will you take the mic back to Deb? Thank you. So here's what to do with that is to take an inventory of who your friends are. And not being judgmental, but just looking at how that's working and making your choices in a way that are loving and respectful, but in your best interest. What do you want to say, Deb?
I read a book one time about prosperity, and it said that the 5 people you hang out with the most they have the same. If you average out the incomes, it averages out to net worth is the same. So I started looking at the people I hang out with, and just to evaluate that, and that I think it's pretty true.
Did you change at all around that?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Good.
I did, yeah. And also another thing I noticed is that some of my friends who weren't making as much have made more money since then. So we're all kind of in the same boat.
Yeah, yeah. Here's another example that probably many of you could relate to. Most times when employees go out for a drink after work, it's not usually with upper management. You know? They don't. They hang with the people that work in their department or that they like to hang with. But vice presidents don't get invited to those. Mostly because it's uncomfortable to be around successful people if you're not focused on being successful. So here's what you do. Another piece of this puzzle. Yes, evaluate your relationships, assess them, see what's working, what's not, and then call into your circle somebody, don't call in 5 or 10 right away, somebody who maybe you weren't so quick to do that because you think they might not have time for you, or in some way you're intimidated by them. Call them into your circle. I have to tell you, one for me has been Brian Biro, one of the most loving, generous, genuine people I've ever known. And I was not very quick to do that with him. You know, he's so friggin' successful at what he does. He's world class. You know, and that's what I want. So being around him is extraordinary because he's very willing to critique what I'm doing to make it better. And being criticized is not one of my favorite things, but it's so valuable. You know, so if you're around people that can support you, that have some way to pull you up a bit, what a gift. What a gift to have that. And what a thing to be grateful for. What do you want to say, Judith?
What I wanted to say is one thing I've realized, especially over this last year, is that the people that I hang with, they're always telling me the truth.
Yeah.
No matter what that looks like.
Isn't that nice?
And I've grown so much because of it.
Yeah, it's absolutely essential that you can trust people to be honest with you. Right. Yeah, good for you. Any other thoughts? All right. Let's see where we're going here. Prosperity Principle 19. Prosperous people are willing to promote themselves and their value. Most everyone else resists promoting themselves and their value. Self-promotion in our culture is frowned upon. You know, to be called a self-promoter is a put-down. But if you don't tell people what you can give them that's valuable, how are they going to know? How are they possibly going to know? So if you have an enterprise, it's your job to find ways to tell people what you're doing, what the gift that you have that's so extraordinary. One thing that Judith does is she enters photographic contests and has won awards in Europe. When's the last time you were in Europe? Never. So she still wins them because the value of her photography, the quality of it is so superior that people in other parts of the world go, whoa. And they can do that with everybody in this room. Every one of us has something of extraordinary value that has that whoa factor. Every one of us. The thing to do with it, though, is to let it shine. Whatever you've got. I'm in your way. I got it. Okay. All right. So the work of self-promotion is not a bad word. It's not a bad thing. I'm just going to say it because I do when his thought he comes into my mind. The number one promoter in this country is Donald J. Trump. Like him or not, that's his thing. He knows how to self-promote. He really does. And somehow out of all that, he has convinced enough people in the right places in this country to elect him president because he has that ability. He's got some other abilities that are I don't want to go there. But on the idea of self-promotion, he before he was president, people would say that he was this grand promoter. And there's something that I think comes with that idea of being unauthentic. But the truth is that genuine self-promotion provides people with value. They won't know what you can give them until you tell them. Perhaps they find other ways, but by telling them, that's the shortest route, by you sharing with them what you do. And that work is important, and don't underestimate the value of that. Mary's got a thought. So just hang in there for a second, Mary. And my guess with Mary's green work in the world, that this is going to be a good thought.
If you don't promote yourself, then I've learned that meant, well, let me just do this. When I was not promoting myself as much as meant I did not have that confidence in myself.
Oh, that's a good
Right.
point.
But after I started thinking and learning that, yes, I did know what I was talking about, it is easy to promote myself, and I enjoy promoting myself.
That's great.
And I used to tell a group that, in our chamber group, I would always say, I'm Mary Love, best realtor ever.
I love it.
And we were out downtown one evening, and the pub cycle went by, and somebody yelled out, Mary Love, best realtor ever.
So how do we promote ourselves? What are examples of how to do that? Obviously, a one-on-one conversation with someone is a way to promote yourself. How else can you promote yourself? Oh, what kind of websites? Okay. Right? So you're saying build a website and put it out online. I got it. And then you have to have ways to direct people to it. Okay, all right. How would you do that? I'm right with you. How would you? Being LinkedIn is a professional. I don't know. Yeah, I can repeat. So LinkedIn is an idea around that. If you've got something to a service or a product, you can go that way.
Right.
What else can you do?
All the social media.
Yeah, you can be on Facebook with it and a lot of other platforms. You can also write a blog.
I
People
do. I do
love
that.
that.
Yep.
Devon's trying to teach me how to do that.
Yeah.
Well, it's getting it done that seems to be the issue. But that's all right. We're working it out.
Yes.
So those are ideas. You have any other thought?
Not at this moment.
Okay, there's one down at the end down here. Karen's got a thought.
I do dog and pony shows is what I call them, where I go to pediatricians' offices and we take them lunch and we take dessert and we talk to all of the staff, from the front office person who checks people in to all of the doctors and pediatricians, because we treat them all with similar respect, and because you never know who's talking to a patient.
Right.
And so then at various other times of the year, we drop them off like we are doing a happy back to school, because back to school time is good for my business, because children start struggling once they start school. And so we leave business cards. And in my office, I have a big thing that says, welcome to the best day ever. Amazingly, I found that at TJ Maxx. And I have a plaque that says choose joy. And so on the back of my business cards, I have welcome to the best day ever. And so it's just little touches like that that people remember you, and you come off as being really positive. And, I talk about that I am good at what I do, and that I've done this work for 25 years, and I get results. And so that's shameless self-promotion. And my mother used to always say, if you don't toot your own horn, nobody else will.
That's
and
right. That's
every cloud
absolutely
has
true.
a silver lining, so you have to look for that.
Wonderful. Susanna's got her hand up, so does Susan again.
Yeah, I speak to photography groups, and I write a monthly newsletter.
Okay,
And
newsletter.
of course, business cards are always a great way to spread the word. There are a lot of other things, but I'll let someone else have it.
I did think of others, and it's networking and marketing, and I'm in the wedding business, and I actually contact other vendors, and I tell them I would be honored to be on their recommended vendor list, and then I go and I meet them, and yeah, so I do that.
That's great. Yeah. That's great. Mary, you mentioned Chamber of Commerce meetings. There's just so many ways to be in touch with people. Stephen, what do you got?
Be an influencer in your niche.
Right. Say it again.
Be an influencer in your niche, so you can go out to somebody else's blog and somebody's asked a question and you answer the question. Or you go to an ask site where somebody's asked questions.
Okay, yeah, you're right. There's lots of that online, lots of ask question sites.
Oh, I just want to say that I think everybody is in sales, even if you don't think you're in sales. And that, so I think most people are, like Karen was saying, shy to toot their own horn. But you could just do it authentically and naturally and talk about the things that you love doing. And just, they'll start asking you questions. And then it goes from there.
Absolutely. It's coming. Here comes Jen. Yeah.
Yeah, I think also self-promotion is important because you have a gift that you're giving to the world. So it's important that people know about it. So you're really doing a great service. Some of the things I do is public speaking, but giving free workshops or going to support groups or marketing myself at different doctors and physical therapists.
Sure.
You know, so lots of opportunities.
Lots of opportunities, right? You're focused on the opportunities. Excellent. RJ.
Well, we give a quality product to people, and if you have integrity, but you can toot your own horn, but if, I think Susan hit on that, if you have testimonials or references or referrals,
yes.
I have a lot of consultants say, please post a little referral on my website so they can advertise it. People trust other people to recommend.
Sure, if they don't know you, sure, they want to know that you've done things and done them well. So that's definitely a piece of that puzzle. A part of this is that if you're resisting promoting yourself, maybe you don't believe in yourself. You know, maybe that's the place to start, is have a little talk with yourself and start seeing your self-worth. Because when you're promoting yourself, yes, they're likely with your people that will use your service or your product, yes, you will bring in income. But you will also be giving equal value. We already talked about the marketplace. So promoting yourself is just not about you. It's about those that can gain value from what you have. And if they don't know it, they can't take advantage of that. They can't use that. So that's an important part of this puzzle. All right. Any questions? Anything else? Everybody good? Okay. Prosperous people are bigger than their problems. Most everybody else feels smaller than their problems. Now there's a thing about this that I want you to get, is that it's not that prosperous people have small problems. That's not what that says. Sometimes prosperous people have really big problems, big challenges, big things to handle. It's just that they're bigger than them. And people that are struggling with problems that feel smaller than them, it really doesn't matter how big the problem is. They're going to feel smaller than it. They're going to feel ineffective of it. And that's not who they are. That's not the truth of them. And it's not the truth of any of us. Because we are bigger than any problem ever could be, no matter what. It's all about how we embrace that idea of being bigger. Let's see here. Yeah, again, I go back to the thing of people that I've known in my life and some of the challenges they've faced. And there's this thing about people that are successful, people who have had great success and then have lost what they had created in that, often go right back and regain it and even more. So there's no, oh, it didn't work, I'm a failure, it's over. That's never the case. So even short-term delays on that, don't say that you're not being prosperous. It means that there's something for you to work out. Okay, we've all got stuff to work out, you know, and the idea of always being bigger than your problem works in every facet of your life. no matter what it is. Don't be looking for problems. But when one shows up, the first thing to remember is you created it. And the second thing to remember is you can create it, you can create something else, no matter what it is. Yeah, and you can do it on any scale. It could be that it's just something that's challenging you today. And you handle it today and it's over. You just don't give it that much energy. Or you find out that, I don't know, let's say your financing didn't go through. Okay, there's another way to do it. I remember when we were here, we were talking when we first had this property, we didn't have any cash. We were in this little place out in Fairview, and this 4 acres came up, and we're going, okay, how does this work? And we went to several lending institutions in town, and all of them were saying, okay, yeah, come in and fill out a form, and we'll get back to you, and we'll talk to you. And we talked to some of them, and they were really, our loan committee is working on it, and we'll get back to you. And we just kept looking. It was actually a bank in Alabama that we found and called, and they had a representative, I think in Brevard. They had a small branch in Brevard, but their loan committee and everything was in Alabama. And we called him, and the guy came over and looked at our numbers and said, absolutely, we're in. Excuse me? You just keep open to the opportunities. You keep open to how it's going to work, and whatever looks like the problem is not the problem. The only problem is that you're not believing in yourself enough. Because whatever it is, you're bigger than that. And your job is to remember it, because if you don't remember it, if you see yourself as smaller, it's got you. It has bitten you hard. And that probably is a good place for us to take a break. Thank you. Prosperity Principle 21. Prosperous people feel worthy of their success. Most everybody else tends to feel unworthy of great success. Obviously. So self-worth is a key factor in success. In fact, I don't know how someone could achieve sustainable success and prosperity in their life without having a great sense of themselves. It's sort of key to that. You have a thought on that already, Jen? Barbara, where's the mic? Here it is. It's all right, I got it up front here.
When you were talking about that.
Oh, I don't think it's on. We turn everything off during the break, and then we come back. Ready.
When you were talking about that, what came to mind is people like John Belushi and some of these other people that really successful, but because they were broken inside and did not feel worthy and did not have good self-worth, they couldn't sustain it, and they self-medicated. Sure. Until the end.
Sure, and there are successful people. Yep. We could look at them as successful people, but that really isn't by definition success. When you're miserable inside and you hate yourself and you think you're a fraud. That's a big one, especially anyone that gets up in front of rooms, that to have that sense that, they're going to figure me out. And to have to live with that all the time. That's so hard. Self-worth is a key player in how we find success in the world, because we deserve it. And the truth is, if you get rid of this notion of competition, there's always more than enough. So you're really not competing to take anything from anybody. You're just available to sell that which you have, the things that are of value, or trade, or by whatever means. But the idea is that you bring your value to the table, and you must believe in yourself, or you're playing a fraudulent game, and the house of cards will collapse. Anybody have any thoughts about worthiness? Anybody here ever felt unworthy? It's a kind of a natural condition for people. So the trick is you have to turn that around, and only you can do it. No one can convince you of it, and people can build you up, but if you don't believe it inside yourself, then that will topple too. People can be enthralled with you, but if you can't own that, then you can't move into that state of real success. And that's where you get stuck down here in that sense of unworthiness. And most people don't ever achieve even what outwardly would look like success. That idea of John Belushi as the exceptional rule, but it's actually bigger in that particular industry. You know? So the idea of getting who you are, and we're in the perfect teaching for that. You know, we teach people that you're the presence of the divine. How does that play small? There's once you realize it, and you know, I don't know, maybe there are other beings on planet Earth that get their divinity. Maybe they do. Maybe the trees know who they are at the level of the divine. I don't know. But I know that we're always at choice. You know, we can live in that sense of the lie that we're not who we say at this center we are, that's not true. And I've seen plenty of people hear that message and walk out the door and never come back. And they say, that's not for me. I don't understand that. That doesn't make any sense, you know, because they're not ready to see it. And what happens sometimes is that 6 months or a year later, they walk back in and they get it. And they go, oh, I need to be here. You know, because they weren't ready for it before. I mean, their sense of themselves was so below par that they couldn't hear these things and get them. You know, that makes sense. You know, it's like deer in the headlights. They're not going to get it. They're not ready to get it. But when people are ready to get it and they walk in the door, they get it. So this question of worthiness comes as part of this teaching at the very essence of who we are in this teaching. And we all need to see who we are. And it's never about being boastful. It's about being genuine. So when we are able to know who we are and have a sense of ourselves, that we are worthy to have success in our lives, to have the skills and the talents and the abilities that we have, and to bring them into the world in a way that touches hearts and lives, what more is there? You know, whatever it is that you bring, it has value. It's a noble work, whatever it is. And when you can see it as noble work, then you have to hold yourself in that place of nobility, knowing that when you give that gift, whatever that gift is, that it's valuable, that it makes a difference in people's lives. And it doesn't matter whether you bake bread for a bakery, or you massage people, or you work on the internet. Doesn't matter. Whatever you bring it with excellence because you know who you are. All right, that's 21. Let's see where we're going. Prosperity Principle 22. How we do anything is how we do everything.
You got a whole room full of agreement there.
Our tendency is to be driven by patterns. So when we're good receivers of money, that means we're good receivers of other things in our lives. When we're generous with our money, that means we're generous with other things. When we have a standard of excellence in our lives, it permeates every part of our life. So this idea of whatever you can see around any element of your life, in this idea of being driven by habits and the way you do things, is a microcosm of the macrocosm of your life. So it makes for self-analysis pretty easy. Find some part of your life and look at it. How do you do? Are you competent there? Are you clear about yourself? Do you recognize your worth? You know, whatever it is, what part of your life you want to look at. Chances are that's where it is everywhere. Okay? All right, that's 22. 23, prosperous people prefer to be compensated based on results. Most everybody else thinks only of being paid for their time. Now, I don't want this to sound like a put down to people that work for a salary or an hourly wage. God bless them. Those of you in the room, okay. But you've come to this class, you want to know about being prosperous. You want to know about breaking through the standard. And the fact is that if you are paid for time, you have limited yourself to that time. And frankly, I mean, let's leave out corporate leaders and and other people who, they're not paid for their time. They're not paid for their time. In fact, I remember a CEO that spent more time on the golf course than he did in his office. And people challenged him on that. He said, are you kidding? I'm golfing with the people that are paying your salary, that are bringing us business. No, it's not about being in a place, clocking in and clocking out and thinking you're doing it. It's for results. And if you own your own business, and David, right now I'm thinking of you, it's by providing that quality result that builds your business. Because when you provide something that creates a positive result, more people want it. Those people want it, they tell other people about it, and they call you and they want it. So the idea of being results oriented is the path to prosperity. Again, I take nothing. I know there are school teachers in the room. I know there are other people that work with a specific salary that they make, and they are required to be at places at certain times for a certain amount of hours. And I consider teaching one of the most noble positions there is. But our conversation is about being prosperous. And I got to tell you that even in that state, I have one thing that I have to share, to be absolutely clear. When I became president of Centers for Spiritual Living, I sat on the board of the Science of Mind Foundation. And the very first, once we were together as one organization, those of you who don't know, there were two organizations for about 50 years, and I and a group of people brought the two back together and was elected president. And being on that Science of Mind Foundation, the very first person that we received an endowment from was a school teacher. More correctly, I think she was a librarian in the school system. And her gift to Centers for Spiritual Living after she passed was $500,000. And I don't know that it was all of her money, all of her what do you call it? Her estate. That's the word. But that's what she gave Centers for Spiritual Living. So prosperity. Yet there's something about this thing of working based on results instead of time. So obviously this woman may have had other ways to make money. That's all we knew about her, was that she worked in the school system. So, it's not to limit that, but the idea is the quickest way to result, other than being left in people's wills. That's really quick. Can be crazy too. But if the thing about the results is that if your focus is how much result I can create, then you have a much broader possibility range than you do on your time, because you have finite time. We can only work so many hours, but the result we can create in those hours is up to us. And the compensation we receive for that good work, for that excellence, is up to us. It's absolutely up to us. Don't ever think it's a marketplace that controls you. You control your marketplace by knowing it. And we have a question. We have a thought from Jane.
Yes. Oh, hello. Yes. Okay. I'm being attacked by that. Okay. What I was going to say is you're very talking in terms of money all the time, and that success equals money. But oftentimes people do things that don't bring money, but if they do them well, they know them. I'm talking about, like I play the bowls.
Yes.
And
you do it exceptionally well.
Oh, thank you. Well, but I didn't for years. I played very badly. But the thing it is,
and we loved you through that.
Yes, you loved me through that. But the thing is that, yes, money is one reward, but there are other rewards. Like if I play the bowls well, I can look out and I see people and they're sitting there and they're so happy, and I think, wow, this is the most wonderful experience. It has nothing to do with money, really.
And that's a lovely example, and I absolutely agree with you. And The conversation is about how are we making the allness of our lives work, our broader picture. For example, you are a successful writer.
At one time.
You were, well, and that's fine, but you were, that was your career. You did that, and you did it very well. And you were compensated for it, right?
Not, yeah.
Not enough, perhaps,
No.
but that's where you were. But you were excellent at what you did because you put your time and energy into it the same way that you did with the bulls.
Well, that's the thing is that, years ago, I loved to rock climb. I loved to mountaineer and things like that. And, if I'm successful at that, it made me feel wonderful. Right. So I think, and nobody paid me for it. So.
Perfect health, perfect wealth, and perfect happiness. Rock climbing was your happiness. Yeah. Okay, and that's great. And that's an element of your life.
So I just wanted to make the point that sometimes people like myself have skills that don't bring money, but they still bring tremendous rewards.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Jane. Thank you. And Mary has a thought.
So this principle has really prompted a lot of books, which for the new rich, that really talks about if you're working in a job, a 9-to-5 job, what can you do to show your value rather than being clocked in, and there's a lot of books out there about how you can get out of that and start doing, remote accessing of your job and not have to be come into work. So that's a big change.
It results in being trustworthy. I remember when somebody at CSL was fired because they said they were working at home and they could check, they never turned their computer on, and all their work's on the computer. They were dismissed the next day. And the opposite of that is that if you create results, if you do your work in an excellent way, even if you're paid a salary, you're going to be a logical person to give a promotion to, which is going to increase your salary. So it works even in that idea of having a time element, there's still that result-oriented thing, which ends up paying off because those kinds of people who are result-oriented and creating the outcome that supports them and their organization are the ones that end up leading it. Yeah. David.
I just wanted to say something about the competitive part. And
sure.
I never really have been competitive. I'm more competitive about me being my best that I can be. That's who I'm competing with every day. I always had said there's enough business for everyone out there.
Right.
But all I have to do is just be the best David.
Right. And when you are focused on that and doing that well, your life works. Yes, it does. Brilliant. Very good. David Mark has a comment.
Pablo Picasso probably articulated this concept of results and value and time better than anyone.
Tell us.
And he was painting in a park one time, and someone came up and asked him to sketch their portrait. And he took out his pencil, and he was very quick in terms of making a statement with a few lines, and like in less than a minute, he hands her this charcoal, I think it was, and said, "That'll be $25. And back then, that was a fair amount of money. And she said, "You have to be crazy. You only spent a minute doing that." And he said, "Oh, no, my dear. I have spent my lifetime doing that."
Excellent. Excellent. I got the same lesson from an artist friend of mine who's one of her paintings hangs in our house. And she took me to a gallery showing on Miami Beach. And there was this glass sculpture. And you could look at it and see it didn't take long to make. And it was on sale for $35,000. And I looked at it, had beautiful colors in it. It was very interesting, but there was something that said that heated up glass did that, and it didn't take long. And so my friend, I said, so how long do you think it took him to make that? She said, probably about 30 years. Years. Because it took him 30 years of developing his skill to make that thing that took him, what, 3 minutes. But it was one of his. And today, what do you think that $25 sketch by Picasso would be worth? Yeah, millions maybe. Who knows? At least hundreds of thousands. Great. So we're getting a sense of result versus time. That's lovely. Let's see, where are we going here? 24, prosperous people live in an abundant universe. Everyone else lives in a world of limitations. Of course, that's a little bit of a trick because they all live in the same universe. They just don't perceive it the same way. The way you perceive life is everything. It's everything. The way you perceive yourself, the way you perceive your environment. I remember in one of our classes here, there was a very earnest woman who had worked diligently to have her life not be on the grid, not using petroleum products, and wasn't hooked up to the electricity. And they had, she and her husband had spent a lot of time doing that. And she said, I get so angry at people that aren't willing to do this. And my suggestion to her was, how about seeing them all doing this? What if you just saw everybody doing this? What would your life be like then? And she all but cried at the thought that you could change your perception of life and make it work for you. Now, a lot of us are still using fossil fuels and hooked up to the electric grid, but her perception worked for her, and it helped her enjoy her home more and have less judgment of other people. Isn't that good? Isn't that wonderful? So the idea of which world do you want to live in, an abundant universe or a world of limitations? Obviously, this is class 5. Y'all better be wanting to live in an abundant world. All right. 25, prosperous people focus on their net worth. Everyone else tends to focus on their net income. Well, yeah, it's that net income. How the money that comes in, am I going to be able to pay all my bills? That's big. That's big. Don't take something else out of my paycheck. Who is this FICA? Why did they get my money? All right. So net worth is an interesting concept. It is. Net worth is actually the true measure of wealth. Nothing else. Y'all may not know how to figure your net worth. Y'all going to learn. It's a very complicated formula. It goes like this. Okay. Everyone else tends to focus on their net income. All right. Assets. We'll do it later. Assets less liabilities equals net worth. Which means that the things you have that have value and the amount of money you owe everybody taken out of that is your net worth. If your net worth is greater than your assets, you have what's called a negative net worth. You don't want to do that. But most people, that should be another principle, that most people don't even know their net worth. So if you have more assets than you have liabilities, and you get to include your house and your car and anything else that has value, your jewelry, the money that you have in the bank, your savings account, any investments you have. Your job is to add up all that stuff and know what it totals against what you owe for things. And it doesn't have to be the same things. If you owe anything to anyone else, that goes under liabilities. So if you want to increase your net worth, the place to start is knowing what it is. And don't freak out when you do the exercise. It's a starting point. And if you have a negative net worth, okay, what can you do to shift that? What can you do to actually have more value in your life than you have expenses or you have things that you owe? Figuring that out can only be helpful. Everybody that has any sense of wealth knows their net worth. I frankly do the calculation monthly because I want to know what my net worth is. And I'm not telling you. But we're doing okay. So this is going to be, it's part of your homework. You're gonna figure out your net worth. And I'm not going to give you any kind of a crazy formula to follow. It's that simple. But you have to think of everything in both categories. And then you know. And this is what I want you to promise me. When you do, no falling into depressions. It's a starting point. And Judy has a thought. Can we get her sound over here? Okay. I want you to speak more on that. Which kinds of intangibles are you speaking of?
What about intangibles? I was thinking about like having a good mind, having a creative attitude, having an open heart.
Those are lovely and important, but they don't belong on a financial statement. You can't.
Can't borrow on them.
This goes back to the question that I asked you on homework, where I said, where's money important and where is money not important? And the things you just mentioned, money's not important. Those are valuable things, but it's not a money calculation. It's not a numbers calculation. And what we want to look at are these numbers. And it will not hurt any of us to do this. This is a good exercise.
I just can't see what I'm trying to talk to them about. Your liabilities.
Yes.
Is it per month, per year that you've got to subtract from the assets?
Well, you can't.
I don't know what you mean by total. That doesn't mean anything to me.
Well, let's talk about your house. Your assets are that you rent that out.
Yes.
That you have a certain amount of money coming in from the house.
Yeah.
And then if you have a mortgage payment, you make the mortgage payment. So the mortgage payment's a liability. The income from the house is an asset.
So it's the total amount of the mortgage needs to be subtracted from the assets, or each monthly payment on the mortgage. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
You obviously own the house.
Yeah.
The house has value greater than your mortgage.
Yeah.
So that amount above the mortgage is your asset. So the value of the house goes here.
Yeah.
And the mortgage that you have goes here.
So that's the total amount of the mortgage itself, not the
against
monthly
the total
payments
amount
of
value
that.
of the house.
Okay, that's what and liabilities. Excuse me. Does that also include things like utilities and stuff like that? And if it does, are you just putting down a monthly thing for that, or a yearly thing?
Here's what I want you to do, because you're a really smart person and you like to do this. I want you to go online and Google, how do I figure my net assets, my net worth? And there's lots of reading material on that. Just pick one.
Okay.
Yeah, and it'll get you into the details of this. Okay? I don't want to try to teach us to calculate that. You guys can do that. It's really easy. It's a wonderful exercise. And as we do with all the homework, I don't collect it. So when I ask you on the thing to write down your net worth, it's for you, not me. All right? So let's pass out the homework here. Sure, I can go back. It's just for you, Breezy. I can go back. Here we are. So the purpose of this homework, I'm sure you've figured out, is not really to pressure you or make you distressed over any of the answers you would write. The more honest you are about these things, the more value they will have for you. So the point of it is so that you would be more self-aware. That's the only point of these exercises. So you see there that we've got a series of questions that really come out of what we talked about tonight, and have fun with this. All right? Any other questions? Any other concerns? Okay, fantastic. Well, again, we've done a great job of exploring some ideas around prosperity, and we will keep it going. Thank you so much. All right, yay. Thank you. Are you on?
Jane is asking. Am I on? I love the way this class is coming together because it's got such good
tangible, concrete ideas, and it keeps giving the power back to us. Back to us, back to us, because the basic premise is that anyone can be rich. Anyone can prosper. Anyone can demonstrate wealth, but it's not airy-fairy, pie-in-the-sky metaphysics that you're just going to sit on a couch and do one affirmation and money's going to fall down from the sky. But there are tangible things that can be done. And when we do those, we move more in alignment to creating lots of money, lots of success, lots of joy, lots of health in our lives. And so thank you. Thank you for putting this class together and having all of these ideas. I really like this year's class. Me too. Yes, 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 yes. Deb. More homework sheets. Karen's got some. Pass them over. I didn't separate them evenly. But the truth is that any one of us that comes into alignment with prosperity will create prosperity. Abraham says that if we vibrate at that frequency of it, it shows up, that we choose thoughts that feel rich. You know, the old idea of driving around a new car to get that mental equivalent. I like to play with cash. We haven't gotten into that this class, but I'm a big fan of getting lots of bills, whether they're $100 bills, $50 bills, $1 bills. Go to the bank, tell them that it's for a gift, and they'll give you the pretty ones. It can be a gift for you, and because money is a really tangible thing to me, I like to hold it and touch it. I like to sleep with it. I like to make a big wad, you know, and put it in my pant pocket and feel it, a big wad of cash. And I know that that's a generational thing because now it's a lot of debit cards and things like that. But to me, there's nothing like cash. Nothing like cash. And my subconscious doesn't know the difference between a $1 bill and a $100 bill. I like $100 bills. I like to collect them. But my subconscious doesn't know what I'm feeling. It's just money. We don't even have different sized bills in this country. They're all exactly the same size, so that when I'm throwing them up in the air and watching them fall down on me, when I'm scattering them in the sheets and sleeping with them, when I'm smelling them, when I'm putting them in my pocket, that's just money. And when we come into a vibrational alignment with money, money finds us. What you seek is seeking you. And I love this idea that we can be just as smart as the big kids. We can be just as clear as the people that are running multi-billion-dollar corporations, that we can create an idea and open up to having that success, and it can show up, and that we are not limited by our circumstances, our education, our gender, our race, or our age. That there is that infinite intelligence that is within each one of us that is just dying to show up as money. Money is looking for us. And that's why I love these stories about money being just, it's in a creek in Australia. They're fishing. They got news reports of the police out there fishing these wads of cash out of the creek. There's money everywhere. And when we open up to it, we find it. We find it on the ground. We find it in paper bags. We find it in our mailbox. We find it in all kinds of areas. There is no limit at all to how we can demonstrate prosperity and abundance of all kinds. So I love these ideas that all go back to us. Are you bigger than your problem, or is your problem bigger than you? What are you letting dominate your life? What are you giving your power away to? I loved that one last week about people who are victims are not prosperous people. You know, think about it. If we're going to allow ourselves to be victimized by every thought that goes by, every news story, every neighbor, every car that goes by, we might as well just be peeling $100 bills off and putting them in the fire and just burning them up. How much is it costing us to not be in control of our thoughts, of our feelings, of our actions? And I love these ideas that say, you know, for me, I dropped out of school at 15. I had no idea what a net asset or net value was. I didn't know the difference between gross or net. I was wondering who FICA was. You know, who is that person anyway? What are they doing with my money? I remember when my great goal in life used to be what my tax return was going to be. I don't want a tax return. I want to pay taxes. I love to pay taxes because it means I have money. I don't want to say, oh boy, it's April 15th, I can file now and get some money back. I want, and I do have a certified public accountant that specializes in ministers, and I want to be able to pay lots of money to the United States government and the state of North Carolina in taxes, because that means that I have so much of it. So it's that mind shift. It's that mind shift, not a penny more than I owe. But it's that mind shift that goes from money is outside of me, rich people are outside of me, these things are outside of me, and only if I win the lottery will I ever be able to achieve that, to no. There's a power and a presence within us that is prosperity itself, and we can come into alignment with certain thoughts, words, and actions that are prosperous, and we can create success, whether it has to do with money or playing the bowls. Jane, you came in here every day for a year and practiced playing those bowls. In the frigid cold, in the hot heat, you came in and practiced and insisted inside of yourself that you master bowl playing. When we say that there is something inside of me that is greater than the obstacles in my life, then we find and release that thing inside of ourselves, and it triumphs over life. And when we triumph over life, one of the things that we use in this society is money. It's not chickens. We're using money. We create money. We create opportunity. We create connections. We create success. And before you know it, we're hiring people to do our assets and liabilities and net worth and having all of these things because we're in alignment with prosperity. One of the ways that we stay in alignment with prosperity, especially in this class, is by doing our treatment for increased income, extreme income. So I'm asking you, are you ready? Yes. Are you ready to have what you want to have? Yes. Are you ready to buy what you want to buy? Yes. Are you ready to do what you want to do? Yes. Are you ready to go where you want to go? Yes. Are you ready to be who you were meant to be? Yes. Then we're going to do our treatment for increased income together aloud. I, Barbara, know that God is the source of all supply and that money is God in action. I know that my good is here now. I am so rich and so full that I have an abundance of money to spare and to share today and always. I know that true prosperity includes perfect health, perfect wealth, and perfect happiness. This word which I speak in faith knowing now activates universal law, and I accept the results. I bless all that I have now, and I bless the increase. I bless all the others in the increased income program of our class, and I know that we now prosper together in every way. I give thanks for this good. So it is. Again, I, Barbara, know that God is the source of all supply and that money is God in action. I know that my good is here now. I am so rich and so full that I have an abundance of money to spare and to share today and always. I know that true prosperity includes perfect health, perfect wealth, and perfect happiness. This word which I speak in faith knowing now activates universal law, and I accept the results. I bless all that I have now, and I bless the increase. I bless all the others in the increased income program of our class, and I know that we now prosper together in every way. I give thanks for this good, and so it is. One for the road. I I, Barbara, know that God is the source of all supply, and that money is God in action. I know that my good is here now. I am so rich and so full that I have an abundance of money to spare and to share today and always. I know that true prosperity includes perfect health, perfect wealth, and perfect happiness. This word which I speak in faith knowing now activates universal law, and I accept the results. I bless all that I have now, and I bless the increase. I bless all the others in the increased income program of our class, and I know that we now prosper together in every way. I give thanks for this good, and so it is. Woohoo!
Hi, I'm Barbara Waterhouse.
And I'm John Waterhouse. Thank you for watching this message today.
Through our website, cslasheville.org, we have over 1,000 messages, classes, and New Thought books, all to download at no charge to anyone.
Producing this incredibly valuable collection of ideas is really making a difference in the world. It's changing lives everywhere.
Please go to our website, cslasheville.org, and click the Donate button. You can support this life-changing ministry, and when you do, we'll send you a note of thanks and also put you on our daily prayers.
By doing this, you're helping to raise the consciousness of people across the entire globe. We're changing lives together, those lives that are being more prosperous, more healthy, and more joyous. Thank you for being a part of this important work and supporting what we do here at CSL Asheville.
Thank you.